Hi everyone, my name is Mark, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Sierah Joughin was a young woman who had a hold on everyone's hearts. Her infectious happiness and humorous spirit made her the center of everyone's world. She had a spunky and sassy personality that brought immeasurable joy and happiness to those around her. Even when she made mistakes, she had a special way of making her mom smile. As Sierah grew older and entered high school, she continued to exude her adventurous nature. She fearlessly embraced new experiences, one of which was playing volleyball. Whether on the court or off, she displayed a level of comfort and confidence that was truly remarkable. On July 19, 2016, the Joughin family returned from their vacation and began unpacking. Sierah had some exciting plans for the fall semester at the University of Toledo. She had decided to study abroad, and her mother wanted to have a conversation with her about it. However, Sierah, being a very athletic person, had recently purchased a bike, but had not yet had the chance to really use it. So, whenever she found time, she was eager to take a ride. Sierah left the house looking cute, with her hair up in a ponytail and wearing shorts and a tank top. She mentioned to her mother that she was heading to her boyfriend Josh's house, which was located 712 miles away from their own. Her mother acknowledged her plans and said she would see her later. At around 10:15 p.m., Josh, Sierah's boyfriend, made a phone call to Sierah's home. He was concerned about Sierah's whereabouts, as he had tried to reach her several times, but her phone was going straight to voicemail. When Josh asked Sierah's mom if she was home, she replied that Sierah was not there. Josh informed Sierah's mom that Sierah had left his house a little before 7 p.m., and he hadn't seen or heard from her since then. Sierah's mom immediately sensed something was wrong, as Sierah always answered her phone. Her first instinct was to reach out to her parents, Sierah's grandparents, who live nearby. However, Sierah's grandma informed her that Sierah was not with them. Worried about Sierah's well-being, her family and Josh embarked on a search mission to find her. Sierah's mother wasted no time and quickly got into her car, determined to scour every possible location. With a sense of urgency, she diligently examined every nook and cranny she came across, including the sides of the road. Meanwhile, Sierah's aunt joined the search effort, accompanied by her husband and son. They, too, suspected that Sierah might have been involved in an accident, possibly hit by a vehicle. As time passed, the worry escalated. The thought of Sierah being injured, perhaps with a broken leg, weighed heavily on their hearts. Despite their tireless efforts and exhaustive search, they were unable to find any sign of Sierah. Sierah's mom arrived home and immediately took to social media to reach out to Sierah's friends, desperately hoping that someone had seen or heard from her. However, to her dismay, there was no response. Hours passed, and there was still no sign of Sierah. Filled with worry, Sierah's mom knew she couldn't waste another minute and decided to call the police. Just an hour later, a concerned neighbor called Sierah's family and informed them that County Road 6 was blocked off. With their hearts racing, Sierah's family rushed out of their home to see what was happening. They were met by a chaotic scene, surrounded by officers who refused to let them pass. The officers couldn't provide any information about Sierah, leaving her mom in a panic. She couldn't help but wonder if the police had found her missing daughter. The small-town police officers, in their efforts to find answers, decided to seek assistance from the FBI. They made a promise to deliver any information they could as soon as possible to Sierah's family. Understandably, the family was unable to sleep and remained wide awake, contemplating the actions they should take the next day. Sierah's mom and aunt refused to wait for answers and took matters into their own hands. Her mom began making calls to hospitals, desperately searching for any signs of an unidentified female. Call after call turned up nothing, leaving them feeling increasingly hopeless. However, a glimmer of hope emerged when a lead came in from Detroit, Michigan. They had heard news of a young woman who bore a striking resemblance to Sierah. This woman had been admitted to a hospital without any identification after managing to escape from a moving vehicle. The injuries she sustained were severe, with numerous broken bones. In an attempt to confirm her identity, a nurse asked Sierah's family to identify marks on her body. Sierah's mom mentioned that she had a scar on her calf and her belly button pierced. The girl in the hospital seemed to match Sierah's description, raising the family's hopes that they had finally found her. However, their hopes were soon crushed when they discovered that the girl in the hospital was not Sierah. It was devastating for the family to learn that it wasn't her, as they had invested so much hope and anticipation in the possibility. Later that morning, the police arrived at Sierah's house to provide them with an update on the events of the previous night. According to the police, one of the officers had discovered a broken cornfield nearby. As he parked his car and approached the area, he noticed signs of a struggle inside. Additionally, he came across a motorcycle track and decided to retreat without disturbing any potential evidence. It was during this retreat that he caught a glimpse of a reflection, which turned out to be Sierah's purple bike. Upon further investigation, the police found several items at the scene. These included a pair of male sunglasses, a pair of female sunglasses, a bloody sock, and a screwdriver. Based on these findings, the police explained that they believed Sierah had been abducted from that particular location. During the investigation, detectives thoroughly questioned Sierah's friends and family to gather information about her boyfriend, Josh. Through their inquiries, the detectives discovered that Sierah and Josh had been close friends since they were 7. Their friendship blossomed into a romantic relationship during their first year of high school, and they became known as a vibrant and fun-loving couple. One of their shared passions was skiing, and they often hit the slopes together. As high school came to an end, Sierah attended the University of Toledo, while Josh enrolled at Bowling Green. Despite the distance, their commitment remained strong, and they frequently discussed the prospect of marriage. However, Sierah expressed her desire to prioritize her education before settling down, highlighting her dedication to her studies. Despite this, their relationship remained serious, and they navigated the challenges of a long-distance relationship. Detectives investigating the case discovered that Sierah had visited Josh's house in the early afternoon on July 19th. According to the information gathered, Sierah decided to leave Josh's house and return home at approximately 6:30 p.m. Concerned for her safety, Josh joined Sierah on her journey back to her residence, riding alongside her on his motorcycle. After traveling a few miles, Sierah insisted that Josh turn around and go back. She expressed her independence and desire to ride her bike home alone. Reluctantly, Josh agreed, and the two of them parted ways. Josh headed back on his motorcycle, while Sierah continued her journey on her bike. During the investigation, detectives came across motorcycle tracks in the corn stalks near Sierah's bike. This finding raised the question of whether these tracks belonged to Josh's motorcycle. The detectives could not ignore this potential connection and began exploring further to determine if there was any evidence linking Josh to the scene. Detectives quickly set up a command post to gather any relevant clues about Sierah's disappearance. It didn't take long for a promising lead to come in. A resident had come forward and explained that on July 14th, as he was driving on the roads, he noticed a motorcycle helmet lying on the side of the road. Intrigued, he told his son to jump out and grab the helmet, putting it in their truck. However, after hearing what was happening with Sierah, he decided to inspect the helmet more closely. To his surprise, he noticed red stains on it, which he believed to be blood. The helmet was found in the general area where Sierah's bike was in the cornfield. The detectives approached Josh to inquire about the whereabouts of his motorcycle helmet. To their relief, Josh was able to produce the helmet, confirming he had it with him. Furthermore, the detectives verified that Josh had returned home after interviewing his parents. This alibi ruled him out as a suspect in the case. Despite being visibly shaken up, Josh was never considered by Sierah's family as someone responsible for her disappearance. Detectives were determined to identify the owner of the blood-stained motorcycle helmet found on the side of the road. Recognizing the importance of DNA evidence, they decided to send it to the crime lab for testing. With anticipation building, the detectives patiently awaited the results, hoping it would provide a breakthrough in their investigation. Meanwhile, the news of Sierah's disappearance had spread throughout the town, and the community rallied together to search for her. Concerned citizens joined forces and organized search parties, combing through every possible area in the hopes of finding any clue that could lead to her whereabouts. The townspeople felt a deep sense of unity as they worked tirelessly to bring Sierah home safely. In addition to the search efforts, the community organized a candlelight vigil for Sierah at the local high school. The atmosphere was filled with grief, hope, and determination. Hundreds of people gathered, holding flickering candles, sending their thoughts and prayers for Sierah's safe return. 2 days into the investigation into Sierah's disappearance, the police received a tip regarding a van that was seen speeding through the area. There were speculations that Sierah might have been taken in that van and possibly subjected to sex trafficking. The tipster provided the police with a license plate number associated with the vehicle. Following the lead, the police conducted an interview with the van's owner. It was discovered that the reason for the van speeding through the area was not related to Sierah's abduction. The individual explained that another vehicle had abruptly approached from behind, potentially a family member searching for Sierah, which startled him. In response, he instinctively sped off, creating a misperception of his involvement in the case. 48 hours into the investigation, no leads emerged in the search for Sierah. Her family is finding it increasingly difficult to maintain hope as each day passes. The chances of finding her alive grow slimmer and slimmer with every passing day. Despite their best efforts to remain optimistic, the grim reality of the situation is becoming harder to ignore. The police conducted a door-to-door search in their efforts to find Sierah. Eventually, their investigation led them to a farm not too far from where Sierah's bike was discovered. This particular property spanned an acre and consisted of several structures, including a small house, a trailer, and a large barn. The owner of this property was identified as James Worley. Upon arriving at the farm, the police initiated a conversation with James Worley. They questioned him about the day Sierah went missing, hoping to gather any information he might have regarding her disappearance. To their surprise, James stated that he had been out on his motorcycle on the day in question. However, his bike had broken down, leading him to lose a few items along the way, including a screwdriver and his helmet. This revelation left the detectives stunned, as these were the same items that had been found at the scene of Sierah's abduction. James, inadvertently placing himself at the initial scene of the crime, raised significant red flags for the detectives. The connection between James and the missing Sierah became increasingly suspicious, and the police were determined to delve deeper into their investigation. As the detectives questioned James Worley, something caught their attention: scratches on his face. It was evident that he had been involved in a struggle. This discovery only heightened their suspicions about him and raised more questions. The detectives wondered if these scratches were the result of a confrontation with Sierah. The detectives returned to the police station after questioning James Worley regarding Sierah's disappearance. They wanted to conduct a background check on him, hoping to uncover relevant information. As they delved into his past, what they discovered sent chills down their spines. James Worley had a dark criminal history, which included a previous attempt to abduct a young lady 26 years earlier, on July 4, 1989. On July 4, 1989, Robin Gardner, aged 26, was preparing to attend a neighborhood picnic. Her mother was busy making potato salad and getting everything ready for the event. Robin thought it would be a good idea to go for a bike ride before heading to the picnic. Unfortunately, Robin did not have any water with her, and the heat was becoming unbearable. Robin contemplated turning around and heading back home to quench her thirst. Just as Robin was about to make that decision, she heard the sound of a car approaching from behind. Robin assumed that once the vehicle passed her, she would make her way back home. However, before Robin could react, there was an impact as the car collided with her bike. As the car collided with Robin on her bike, the impact sent her flying into a nearby ditch. Stunned and disoriented, Robin could hear the driver of the vehicle stopping and getting out. Concerned, the driver approached Robin and asked if she was okay, trying to assess the situation. However, the turn of events took a terrifying twist. Suddenly, the person who had hit Robin with the car revealed sinister intentions. Without warning, he struck her forcefully in the back of the head. Robin struggled to comprehend what was happening as the assailant placed a screwdriver to her throat, threatening her life. In a menacing tone, the man ordered Robin to get up and get into his car immediately. The man, with a screwdriver pressed against Robin's neck, forcefully coerced her into his car. Once inside, he attempted to handcuff her. Despite managing to connect one cuff around her wrist, Robin resisted fiercely, preventing him from securing the other. She screamed at the top of her lungs for help. But the desolate cornfields offered no solace, as there was no one around to hear her cries. Robin's relentless struggle against the man left her on the verge of losing consciousness multiple times, yet she continued to fight. Suddenly, amidst the eerie silence, she heard a faint sound in the distance. As she strained her eyes, she spotted a motorcycle approaching the man's car. Realizing that this could be her only chance for escape, Robin began waving her arms frantically to catch the attention of the motorcycle rider. Thankfully, the rider noticed Robin's distress and promptly brought the motorcycle to a halt. In a desperate plea for help, Robin explained that the man was attempting to end her life. Without hesitation, she seized the opportunity and swiftly climbed onto the back of the motorcycle, leaving her captor and the car behind. The man on the motorcycle drove Robin home, where she collapsed. Robin's mother called the police and an ambulance. As Robin was rushed to the hospital for medical attention, the motorcyclist, determined to assist the authorities, led the police back to the scene of the incident. To their surprise, they discovered James Worley still present with his car. James, upon being questioned, cooperated fully and provided identification to confirm his identity. However, James Worley's account of the events differed significantly from what was initially assumed. He vehemently denied any intention of abducting Robin. According to his version of the story, Robin had been riding her bike erratically, swerving into the road, making it impossible for him to avoid colliding with her. James claimed that Robin was in a state of hysteria following the accident, which led him to restrain her with handcuffs, not to harm her, but to secure her to the steering wheel of his truck while he sought help. He insisted that his actions were driven by a genuine concern for Robin's well-being. James Worley was arrested in 1989 after attempting to take Robin. He was found guilty of abduction and subsequently sent to the state prison in Mansfield, Ohio. Worley received a sentence of 6 to 10 years. However, due to exhibiting good behavior, he was released 3 years later. When Robin learned that the man who had tried to kidnap her was released, she was terrified. The fear of James potentially acting again weighed heavily on her mind. Armed with information about James Worley's criminal past, the police decided to pay a visit to his residence. Equipped with a search warrant, they arrived at his home and began their investigation. Upon searching the house, which James shared with his mother, nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary. However, their attention then turned to James's expansive backyard. As they combed through the vast outdoor space, the officers stumbled upon a barn tucked away in the corner. Curiosity piqued, they cautiously approached the structure. Inside, they discovered neatly stacked bales of hay. The police carefully inspected the barn, meticulously searching for any evidence that could potentially tie James to Sierah's disappearance. Every nook and cranny was thoroughly examined, and each bale of hay was scrutinized in the hopes of uncovering any hidden items or clues. During the detectives' meticulous removal of the bales of hay from James Worley's barn, their eyes landed on a small green crate hidden in the corner. They cautiously approached and opened the box, revealing its contents. Inside, they discovered bags of underwear, stockings, and tube tops neatly labeled and sealed in plastic Ziploc bags. As they sifted through the various items, their eyes widened at the sight of a pair of purple panties stained with what appeared to be blood. The detectives couldn't help but feel a sense of dread as they contemplated what other unsettling discoveries lay ahead in their search of James Worley's barn. The detectives immediately noticed a piece of plywood lying on the ground. Recognizing its potential significance, they carefully removed the plywood, revealing a small cubic feet freezer buried in the barn. They opened the freezer, only to be greeted by a foul odor. It was a strong chemical smell reminiscent of bleach, which further raised their suspicions. As the detectives continued their investigation, they discovered other disturbing elements partially concealed by hay bales. Among them was an air mattress bearing unsightly stains that hinted at a gruesome past. The presence of zip ties, duct tape, handcuffs, and keys further fueled their concerns. These items were all too familiar, consistent with those used in abductions and other nefarious activities. The detectives made the decision to submit everything taken from the property for DNA testing. In his defense, Worley attempted to explain the items as part of a porn business he claimed to be planning. However, the weight of the evidence against him proved too substantial to dismiss. The combination of the disturbing discoveries at the crime scene, as well as the incriminating nature of the collected items, led to James's arrest for the murder of Sierah. Sierra fam was left in utter shock upon discovering that the person who had abducted her was someone living miles away from her home. This revelation left her with a million questions swirling in her mind, but the most pressing one was undoubtedly, where was she? The detectives embarked on a thorough investigation of James's property, leaving no stone unturned. They meticulously combed through every inch of the property, ensuring a comprehensive search. To aid in their search, cadaver dogs were brought in to assist in the detection of any potential remains. During the investigation, the detectives came across a pond on the property. Recognizing its potential significance, they carefully drained the pond to uncover any evidence that may have been hidden beneath the water's surface. Not stopping there, the detectives also inspected the insulation in the front of the attic. As the investigation progressed, the detectives extended their search to the neighboring properties. Recognizing the possibility of evidence being dispersed beyond James's property, they diligently pursued leads in all directions. A call came in from a farmer as he was walking in his vast field. He noticed a peculiar area of corn that seemed to be matted down. He decided to investigate further, and as he approached the spot, he saw a mound of dirt nearby. Instantly, his mind raced, thinking it could be a potential grave. The farmer's concerns were heightened due to recent events surrounding the search for Sierah. With this in mind, he wasted no time and dialed the police, sharing his suspicions and the exact location. Responding promptly to the farmer's distress call, the police arrived. Their trained eyes caught sight of a fresh pile of dirt, further fueling their suspicions that it could indeed be a grave. Taking the situation seriously, they swiftly began processing the area, careful not to disturb any potential evidence. Every inch of the scene was examined as the officers hoped to uncover clues regarding the whereabouts of Sierah. However, despite their thorough efforts, their search yielded no results. The detectives proceeded to search the adjoining farms for Sierah. They utilized drones and helicopters to cover a larger area and increase their chances of locating her. During their search, they came across a mound of dirt with freshly matted corn. Their trained dogs indicated the scent of decomposition, suggesting a potential crime scene. As the crime scene investigators dug, the police made a grim discovery. They found human remains. Based on the evidence, it was believed to be the body of Sierah. Tragically, her hands were bound behind her back, and her feet were tied to the handcuffs. Further examination revealed that an object was lodged in her mouth, restricting her airway. It was determined that she couldn't breathe, ultimately leading to her cause of death. Later that night, the Sierra family received the devastating call they had been dreading. The police had discovered Sierra's lifeless body. This news delivered a heavy blow, and it was met with an outpouring of grief as everyone in the family broke down in tears. The weight of the moment was overwhelming, and the sorrow felt by each family member was palpable. 1 month after the tragic abduction and murder of Sierra, James Worley was indicted on 19 counts, including kidnapping and aggravated murder. 2 years later, Worley stood trial for his alleged crimes. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, he pleaded not guilty to all charges. Over 8 intense days, the state presented a terrifying story that gripped the jury and spectators alike. Jury members deliberated for 6 hours before reaching a verdict in the case of James Worley. After careful consideration of the evidence presented, Worley was found guilty on all counts related to the murder of Sierra. The severity of the crime led to a sentence of death being imposed upon James Worley.